The chairman of the legislature's Public Utility Commission sat down with the federal receiver overseeing the Solid Waste Division last week to talk about what to do about the prospect of a second landfill competing with the newly opened Luzon landfill.
I did meet with Mr. Manning last week and to discuss a particular issue of a competing landfill, especially in view of the fact that opening up a competing landfill may cost the government of Guam upwards of about $12 million because it would have to basically reduce its tipping fees. Certainly that's a good example of the opening of a new landfill. It doesn't necessarily provide public benefit.
That was the warning from GBB's Principal Associate David Manning to the District Court last week in his quarterly report. Manning said GBB would have to lower its rates to remain competitive, and the $12 million loss in revenue to GovGuam would force a reduction in GovGuam services elsewhere.
If they authorize a second landfill, particularly one that's not held to the same environmental standards as Luzon, then it will clearly have a lower cost associated with it. And that will mean that we have to drop our rates.
You will have to do that.
We will have to do it because no one would pay twice as much for disposal under that kind of a scenario.
Manning's recommendation is that Guam adopt new legislation in line with an existing U.S. Supreme Court decision that would limit the island to just one landfill.
There is a Supreme Court decision that we submitted in the package to the court this time that states very clearly that local governments have the authority, if they enact an ordinance or a law, to say that all the waste in their jurisdiction must go to a publicly owned facility. Of course, that's Luzon here.
Has there been a law that passed to make Luzon that?
No, there has not been. So the government of Guam actually has to make a decision.
Senator Ada is weighing that recommendation and cites the precedent already existing in Guam law that governs the Guam Waterworks Authority.
The law right now basically says that all of Guam's water resources belong to the territory of Guam, and that the use of that and the production of water shall be controlled by Guam Waterworks. I think a case possibly could be made in the case of a landfill, especially on a small island where proper land is very limited, and we certainly don't want to be opening up landfills all over the place.
But Senator Ada is proceeding slowly and cautiously because the impact of such legislation would end GRRP's long-standing and aggressive bid to build its own landfill and waste-to-energy plant in Atentano.
If we were to introduce legislation, I wouldn't see anything coming out until possibly the end of the first quarter. I think it's very important that we move with deliberateness, that we design the bill so that we don't find ourselves in court immediately after the law has been enacted.
Kevin Kerrigan, PNC News.